Hello students, welcome to this ethics class. Today we will discuss 2021 1A. So from today we will start part A. And before watching this video you should have attempted this question at least once. And primarily when we are discussing part A, we are discussing part A to improve your understanding. I am trying to explain certain concepts through part A. So part A is very subjective. You can write the answer in a variety of ways. So don't think this is the way you have to write the answer. This is just one of the ways in which you can write answer. And primarily the reason I am discussing the paper through answers is that to try to explain certain concepts, to try to make you understand what UPSC wants to know, what UPSC is asking through this question. So to explain you these things, and also to improve your understanding, to clear certain concepts, to give certain important points, and to provide overall guidance. So primarily this is just one of the way of writing the answer that you have to remember. Then the primary focus is to improve your understanding, to provide a proper guidance to write answers. That is the main objective. Always remember, ethics is a subjective paper. So do not think that this is the way to write the answer. This is just one of the ways in which you can write the answer. And I am using this method to try to explain certain concepts, to improve your understanding, to make you understand what UPSC is trying to ask. Okay. So let us go through the answer. This is just one of the ways in which you can write answer. So here you have to identify 5 ethical traits on which one can plot the performance of a civil servant, and we need to justify their inclusion in matrix. Since these are only 10 markers, answer limit is word limit is only 150 words. So we can complete the answers in 100 to 120 words. If we write in 100 to 120 words, it would be a very good answer. Remember, 150 is the maximum words. That is like the highest limit. You should not cross it generally. So ethical traits. I have used some ethical traits like empathy, impartiality, honesty or transparency, one of them, dedication to service, and integrity. Similarly, you can also incorporate other ethical traits. So empathy. Why I have incorporated empathy? It is essential to effectively understand various problems of people and needs of public service, and it is required to work for poor and marginalized, etc. So here empathy. What is empathy? Empathy means to be able to really understand the problem from others' point of view. So it means we are keeping ourselves in others' shoes and trying to decide. So until and unless we really understand, so again there is a difference between knowing the problem and understanding the problem. For example, you might know that there might be some water problem in slums, but unless you live in slum for a long time and face it yourself, you might not be able to really understand the problem, understand the issue. So understanding is very different from knowing the issue. So understanding means you really understand the problem, then only you would be able to work for others. So people have various kinds of problems. They might have employment related problems, health related problems, basic facilities related problems, governance related problems. So to effectively understand various kinds of problem of all the stakeholders, you need empathy. Without empathy, without trying to see from others' point of view and trying to understand their situation, we cannot really understand the various problems. So until and unless we understand the problems of the people, we would not be able to understand the needs of public service. And also, why will we work for poor and marginalized? We can only work for such people only when we really understand their problems as well. Only when we understand their issues, we can work for them. So empathy is a very essential characteristic, very essential ethical trait, without which public office loses lot of relevance. So second one is impartiality. So impartiality is nothing but to prevent partiality. So to prevent partiality, to prevent nepotism, to prevent corrupt practices, to prevent crony capitalism, impartiality is necessary. So also to have inclusive and decentralized development, impartiality is required. This is because why we find so much centralization, why we find big projects being taken up instead of small projects. It is because to have corruption, we need partiality, and partiality enforces centralization. So if we want partiality, if we want to take up big projects, and if we want to give the tender to our close relatives or businesses that give us lot of bribes, then we need centralization, because partiality requires centralization. Then only we can do whatever we want. We will take up big projects, we will give the big projects to our relatives or to the people who pay us most bribes. That's why we find lot of centralization. Why the state of decentralization is poor in India is because of that. We don't want many people to involve in decision making. We don't want people to know about decision making. So centralization occurs because of partiality, because partiality is required to have corruption. So impartiality is a very important value that is necessary to prevent crony capitalism, corrupt practices, nepotism, and to have decentralized and inclusive development. And next is honesty and transparency, and this is important to prevent avenues for corruption and arbitrary actions. So when something is transparent, you cannot go for corruption. For example, if you are dealing with public directly, for example, if you are transferring funds online, then there is no chance for corruption. If you do some corruption, you will be easily caught. So we need transparency to prevent avenues for corruption and to prevent avenues for arbitrary action. And it will also to provide people with information that is necessary to hold public servants accountable. So until and unless people have information, how can they hold public servants accountable? So if we see, RTI, right to information, has enabled this. So because people can know about the decision making, they can hold the public servants accountable. So transparency is required for two things: to prevent avenues for corruption and arbitrary actions, and also to give public necessary information that is essential to hold public servants accountable. For example, few months back, I guess, because of RTI application, some news came out that on the last day of certain local body, elected representatives have gifted themselves iPhone through public money on the very last day. Because of RTI application, we came to know that, and there was protest and dharnas, and the decision was reversed. So on the last day, some elected representatives in local bodies have decided to give themselves iPhones. So transparency is very essential to hold public servants accountable, and there is dedication to service. And to handle the very high workload of public service, we need dedication to service, and also to solve difficult and complex challenges. So until and unless we have dedication to service, we cannot handle such huge workload. We cannot solve those difficult and complex challenges. And fifth one is integrity. Integrity means having strong moral principles. So integrity by definition itself means you have strong moral values or moral principles. So it is essential to uphold all the ethical traits, even the ones we discussed just now. So it is also essential to remove material interest from public service, to serve public interest and not private interest or material interest, to create vibrant work culture in public offices, to uphold values of office and constitutional duties, and to protect institutions and their values from threats and challenges. So even to protect institutions and their values, we need integrity. Like one of the threat I have listed here is politicization of bureaucracy. So here you can list a variety of other threats you may feel more important to include in the answer, threats you can relate to. So if we see, it comes to around 123 words. So as I said, it is a subjective answer. Please write your own answers. These answers are written to improve your understanding, to clear certain concepts. This is a very subjective paper, please remember that. For example, here you can write other threats and challenges other than this. You can remove certain points and add some other points. You could have also chosen different ethical traits than the ones I have chosen. So primarily I am only trying to explain it. I am only trying to improve the understanding and explain certain concepts. For example, why empathy is required? To really understand others' problems, to understand the needs of public service, and to work for poor and marginalized. So for these things, empathy is very essential. And impartiality, why is it required? It is required to prevent crony capitalism, corrupt practices, nepotism, and to have decentralized and inclusive development. And we need honesty and transparency primarily for two things: to remove any avenues that allows corruption or arbitrary actions, and to give public information that is necessary to hold public servants accountable. And we need dedication to service to handle high workload and to solve difficult and complex challenges. And we need integrity to uphold all the values, to remove material interest, to serve public interest, to create vibrant work culture, to uphold values of office and constitutional duties, and to protect the institutions and their values from various threats and challenges. So that is it. Thank you.